This is a clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now at about 2:16 on this Sunday morning. We're watching a strong thunderstorm here moving through Bradford County. I say thunderstorm, there's not a lot of lightning with it here right now, but there is some rotation within the Doppler algorithms. It's not too tight, but it's not 100% clear how much of the storm acts in terms of wind energy is getting down to the surface, but I can hear the rain outside right now. That's definitely getting down to the surface here at this point in time. And we're just going to be a little bit careful with this here because this storm kind of just trying to get its act together as it moves across Bradford County. A significant weather advisory just being issued here in the last 15 minutes or so. And I'm just looking at some of my different modes. You know that Doppler, that's one of them. But the other one here is kind of watching this as it does kind of move across here. You know, you can hear the rain in the background. It's pretty heavy right now. There may even be a little bit of small hail mixed in with that. But this is a tricky signature. I kind of doubt we're actually getting something, that's rotating down toward the surface, and there's no warning here. We generally don't pop on when there's not a warning, but I wanted to be erring on the side of caution because this is moving right here where we're at here in the Stark area, and I just want to be kind of on top of things. If you were to somehow, it's not expected, but if you were to hear that freight train noise, you'd want to move to that interior room away from windows immediately. But again, no tornado warning right now, but there's that small severe weather risk we were talking about late Thursday. We haven't had any warnings around, but we're just watching this here carefully. See some heavy rain all along the 301 corridor right now, but down toward the south, we have seen some rotation. You can kind of see we even had a tornado vortex signature, but again, we don't know if this is really the circulation. Weather Service doesn't really think it's reaching. I kind of doubt it's reaching, but if it were to be reaching, we could have some problems here in terms of the circulation. So it's be going right through Stark right about now because this radar scan a few minutes behind. So tricky situation here. Just want to err on the side of caution. Another range reaching the surface. It's just a matter of if the wind energy is. I know the advisory is for wind gusts to about 40 miles an hour. For some reason, some of this wind was reaching here. We're talking about winds maybe 70 miles an hour, give or take, in here. So that'd be something a little bit more substantial, obviously. Let me put up our outdoor camera just in the corner so we can kind of keep an eye on the situation here. If we were to see power flashes or something, this would be kind of looking in the right direction. I mean, it's not, going to be showing too much unless there's lightning or power flashes. You're not going to see anything there, but because we won't have a night vision mode on that. But I just want to be ready. It's, right near us right now. So let's check again because that scan hadn't updated, but this one has. I mean, this is right there. Just east of Stark now, right there near the Stark Golf and Country Club. So again, there's no warning here. Don't stress out about this, and that more than likely we're going to be all right here. I just wanted to be on just to err on the side of caution. And if we kind of get this past the county here without a warning, and we'll talk about the winter weather for a few moments before we drop coverage here and wrap it up, assuming we don't get, some thunderstorm warning and or a tornado warning downstream. Because, sometimes you kind of see this stuff pop up just all of a sudden here. That's why it's so important to have local meteorologists. This stuff just pops up all of a sudden here. I do see some of the rain reflected, it looks like, but you just want to kind of be on top of it here just in case. But if this doesn't really get too crazy, and we'll just talk about the winter weather for a few minutes and then wrap it up. But it probably was indicating some wind. Let me look. Let's your gauge does have a 10 mile an hour gust. It's pretty low down to the surface. Bear with me here. Okay, we just got 11 here, but nothing more than that. Just checking some of my instrumentation. So, just wanted to be on top of this just in case, more than likely not being a problem here in terms of producing something. But if it were, you have the reports, the damage is done, and then you issue the warning after sometimes in this type of really low-keep environment. So there's enough shear out there to kind of get something a little interesting on radar. It doesn't look like it's increased in intensity here over the last few minutes. So if anything, it might have decreased just a little bit, which is obviously some good news. So, this would have increased. We've seen it before, 2020 and 2021, right over town. And then you have, I guess when I say right over town, the one would have might not been right over town, but It's not too far away. The one on 100 they're going back in 2020 on Christmas Eve night, but 2021 was right over town, and we had that tornado touchdown. But again, kind of doubt we had anything there. I just wanted to be careful with it for a few moments. Just wanted to pop one just in case. It's always better to be safe than sorry here in this type of situation. So, I mean, even with that, you didn't know until a while after if you actually had anything with it, because didn't get the reports in. I mean, for a good bit, though I have some more sources than I did back then. But so far, I don't see anything. But I'm gonna keep looking here in toward the weather center as the timeline does move along. Let me took the power out of his maps. I mean, they're not going to show anything. Yeah, I can't imagine, but I'll just kind of look here real quick. I'm just looking here. One-man band. I just see 4 customers in Bradford in the dark, so that's not too much at all. Okay, so we're just continuing to look at this. Again, just popping on to be erring on the side of caution here. It's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Okay, so kind of watching that move by. It was, not as heavy of a downpour as it could have been here, but we were just watching some weak rotation. Just wanted to be careful with it. I'll go ahead and take the camera off of that now because it wouldn't be in the right direction. But again, so that, good news on that so far. So just wanted to err on the side of caution with that. We're going to have more rain later on in the night. Now, some of this here embedded with the lighting we'll have to watch, but, as you're kind of back into the rain a little bit, it'll be a little bit harder for it to be severe. I would be watching down further to the south, especially like Marion County, later in the night or even the early morning, Marion, Putnam, maybe Flagler. Not out of the question we could have some mornings there as we look ahead. I mean, that could be, several hours down the road, though, as this kind of tries to push on down. We're going to have that much colder air come through. That's why we're in alert mode, not because of this low-end severe weather risk, but it's that cold weather. So while we're on here, I do have some graphics I can pull up here, and then assuming we don't have any warnings, I'll wrap it up here. But again, we do have that historic event potentially in store as we look ahead. So it's very uncertain, that forecast still, so stay tuned for updates. But I know you have the rain now. We had a half-inch there on that late Saturday night here east of Stark, and another 10th plus here so far since midnight. So as we look at the Monday morning, there's now a freeze warning in play for parts of the area. So what that kind of means is that we could have some black ice around. It does include Bradford here. It looks like they said it's a little separate, but Bradford's in one of them, Baker's in another. But the point is, freeze warning Monday morning. So we're not going to have necessarily ice, accumulating ice, then freezing rain Monday morning, or anything like that. Not having snow Monday morning. But we could have a situation where there's areas that are poor drainage, that you had so much rain that it's not all run off in time, and either that could, isolated spots become frozen, so that can lead to slick spots on the road. So, got to be really careful. But going into the rest of the storyline, Tuesday and Wednesday, the main event days. Make sure your emergency supply kit is up to date. Power outages could be possible. Consider stocking up on items like milk and bread, and you may need extra blankets too. And then if there is significant freezing rain accumulations in the form of an ice storm, and we're still not off the table. I mean, we talked about this 40 hours ago. We were hoping maybe by then you could say, okay, maybe there would have been some good news by now. But some of the models are really still hinting at it. I mean, some of them are very concerning still, while others are not showing any ice at all. It's not, great certainty here. About 48 hours out, from Tuesday morning, we could have a few flurries and maybe 60 hours, give or take, out from the event. But major damage to trees, possibility, maybe 72 hours more so further off toward north central Florida. But, western counties, it'd be more like, if I'm doing the math right here at 2:26 in the morning, it'd be like 60 hours there. We're talking about around 4 p.m. on Tuesday when this begins the major problems in the western counties. But if the freezing rain does, really occur here. We're talking about, quarter inch accumulation will be historic for north central Florida here. Especially the further east you go, a half inch would really be off the charts. But major damage to trees and power equipment could occur, and there could be many accidents possible. Bridges could be very slick, and major roads may shut down. Now, for the areas that it would be mostly snow in, it might be more about staying safe while having fun. Now, house fires are more common, though, in these type of just, winter weather, cold situations. The 40s for the highs, even if we don't have just extraordinarily hard freezes for everybody. Granted, you have to watch the pipes in some spots for sure for some dangers. But, house fires are more common just with it being so cold. People trying to heat their homes, you got to be aware of the danger of the space heaters and candles. So, again, very important to keep in mind as we're looking at things, as we're tracking the situation here. Again, got to be really careful because, ice, last time we had anything like this around anywhere in our area, before I was doing cloud weather officially, I was back in early 2018. We had some alerts and very well, could see some winter storm watches, warnings for the first time in a while across our region. And could even have an ice storm warning for the first time ever for portions of our area. That would not be good at all. That would be, truly historic. I mean, we're talking about over a quarter inch. That's when you would start to get that. We did have maybe just under that in that event in 2018 toward areas in the vicinity of Lake City, I would say off the top of my head. But again, as we go ahead and see, this is a first look at my forecast here, and this is subject to change. It's going to change some here because the uncertainty is high. I mean, you don't see this stuff around here very often, so the models aren't going to handle it well. And I mean, we talked about tornadoes together and severe storms together. Floods together, hurricanes together. We haven't talked too much about this. It's not like, somebody like me would have this, that much experience forecasting something like this. But Roy went over all the data here on that Saturday through the day, trying to just, go over with a fine-tooth comb here. And this is kind of what I've come up with so far. And that would be for southwest Georgia, like around Albany, 1 to 4 inches of snow. Ice accumulations to just over 1/10 of an inch. But that's impact, either one of those would be a high impact because even over there, they're not used to stuff like this that often. I mean, they have maybe a little bit more experience and further toward the south and east, some things that could kind of help to maybe, prevent some of those adverse consequences. But as we kind of look further off toward the south and east, these areas just don't have that experience. I mean, it's not something you deal with here as we're looking further toward the south. I mean, you're talking about Tallahassee there. We could have ice accumulations to 4/10 of an inch. That would be very, very bad if that actually verified. I say that, some models don't have any for anybody really in our area. There's some models. There's one, and, it's the NAM model, which sometimes really struggles, but it says over 1 inch of ice accumulation in parts of area, and that'd be catastrophic here. That'd be like a hurricane in terms of the amount of damage we would see if that were to verify. Not saying that it will right now, saying only to 4/10, but even then, that's pretty bad if that actually verified to that level. You'd have a lot of trees down, a lot of power lines down in areas that get over about 1/10 of an inch of ice. So, it's a very tricky situation, obviously. But also, you see 1 to 4 inches of snow there, just like what I'm saying for Tallahassee and Albany / southwest Georgia. Nice 4/10 of an inch, just like Tallahassee. Got to remain alert for changes here. Now, Lake City, a little less ice, but not much. The snow is a little more iffy. I don't have really a bottom range, on the ice for anybody, but for the snow, I do for some areas. I think Tallahassee, Valdosta, southwest Georgia, and Brunswick, for that matter, I would go with at least 1 inch there right now is what we're seeing for the snow. But, there might not really be much measurable snow, Lake City, Jacksonville, but the ice could be a problem. And even Gainesville, the ice could be a problem. It's a little more iffy down there. But if we got 2/10 of an inch of ice down there, that'd be very bad. Schools would be shut down. I would be talking about a lot of issues there. Quite a few trees and limbs being knocked down because the weight of those, levels of ice on those limbs would just be too much and you're just gonna have problems. Some power outages as well. Now Palm Coast right now is looking a lot better compared to everybody else for you guys down there in Flagler County, but you could still have a few flurries. You know, flurries are fun. Snow can be fun, but not with the ice. And right now it would be much ice down there, maybe more black ice, and if you have the rain and you freeze type of situation. But still subject to change a little. We'll watch the trends. But 4 p.m. to Tuesday, or 4 p.m. on Tuesday to about noon on Wednesday here is when we're kind of watching for the greatest concern with all this. So, again, just continuing to monitor the situation here. Continuing to monitor that storm as it moves into Clay County here. It's now around areas there near Kingsley and, you know, Camp Landing. So let me go ahead and jump back over there real quick to give you another update if you're tuning in about that. The reason we came on here, we were watching this, it was a little bit more definitive there on radar with some concern. It's a little bit more disheveled now as we're past 2:30, so the significant advisory just went away. We had some shear marker, even a TVS signature showing up as this moved through Bradford. I don't really think anything happened. It was, you know, a situation would be hard to get a surface base, but I'll keep watching that as, you know, as it gets further up, maybe across to St. John's, but it would be going a little bit further north, so it might be kind of hard to tap into too much energy there, even though when you get closer to the Atlantic there, you can have some more issues sometimes. So again, just continuing to track all this. Let me go ahead and I'm just checking to see reports. You don't see anything, which is obviously good. As we go ahead and look through this and check power outage numbers again. Okay, 4 customers out in Bradford, only 15 in Union. We have 66 in Columbia, actually, and 295 in Swanee, 229 in Jefferson. And again, we do cover a wide area here in our 62 counties. We're trying to stay on top of it here to protect you, your friends, your family. Now, the official risk after 7 a.m., you know, kind of pushes further down to the south. We were kind of alluding to some of this here. But it goes even further south, you know, out of our viewing area, Orlando, Tampa, and a tornado risk here. It'll be, you know, around the lunch hour, give or take, down there. Wouldn't be coming on the air for stuff in that vicinity, but there's a low-end tornado risk. Orlando, Tampa, Kissimmee, and the theme park, that area there, you know, wind risk, pretty similar area. So marginal risk there. That's after 7, but before that, it's further up to the north. It won't show on this graphic, but just, you know, areas as we're watching from about I-10 south will be kind of a focal point. Granted, the risk isn't too high. We haven't had any formal warnings, but we'll just continue to monitor the situation here as the hours do go by. So again, just trying to give you the very latest here on what is happening. We're just trying to keep you up to date on all that. Keep you informed. I know, jumping back to our winter precipitation graphic here for that forecast, if you're just tuning in, I wanted to go over this while we're breaking in right now for that strong storm. If you're tuning in at this very late hour, you know, as we are on guard for some strong storms, see if we get a rogue warning. Haven't had any yet, but, you know, this is that forecast for the wintry precip, 4 p.m. on Tuesday to noon on Wednesday. There is when we're kind of most concerned. I mean, granted, west to be earlier, east to be later. So, you know, like, if you're like in north central Florida, the overall, there may be, you know, some rogue flurries or some rogue ice or some rogue sleet there early Tuesday, but school, for the most part, should be able to go on here, you know, without too much concern in north central Florida on Tuesday. And out of the west, you may very well be able to do it as well. It's just going to be a matter of, you know, making sure everybody gets home, because this stuff could come in pretty quick here. This wind reacts, and, you know, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, it could rapidly move in those southwest Georgia and Big Bend counties on that Tuesday. So, but further east, school should be all right. Be careful, of course, but overall, you know, should be able to have classes on Tuesday to the east. To the west, a little bit, you know, of a type of situation where maybe you try to have them, but then have a 2-hour early dismissal, just to make sure everybody gets home before it gets rough, in case things move in a little bit quicker than anticipated here with the forecast. You have to give it a little margin for error, just because we're so, you know, you know, certain about things, because it's so unusual to be around. I mean, this type of accident. Now, Wednesday may be a no-go for most of our area for classes, just because of the way the conditions will be. Folks just aren't handling this around here very well. I wouldn't think they're not used to handling this, so you gotta bear that in mind as we're looking at things, as we're tracking the overall situation. I mean, if you're in like Missouri, maybe you're used to handling this a little bit better, depending on how much we get. I mean, if even a glaze around here, Missouri could handle that. Somewhere like that, around here, not so much. But if you get these type of numbers, the higher end ice totals, even up there, they'd have problems. So yeah, classes on a Wednesday. Now trends can change, and there might be a few southern counties that can have them, depending on if it really becomes more obvious. It'll be cold rain, but things could even change rapidly. It'd be around rush hour on Wednesday when this could be, at some was worse in north central Florida, northeast Florida on sunrise. We could have really had it mount up over the night and be a problem. So it could amount to quite a bit as we're looking at things here, as we're tracking them. So just continuing to give you the latest. Just remind you guys of the different types of precip, because this is something we don't see around here very often. Snow, snowflakes never melt. That's the storyline here from the Weather Service graphic, National Weather Service graphic. Snowflakes never melt. Now sleet, it's a situation where we're just looking at things where you're below 32, but then you get above and then they freeze and form ice before reaching the surface. As you're looking at freezing rain, you have first snow, but then it turns there into rain for a while, but then when it gets toward the surface, you're below or at 32, and then it freezes on contact, and that is very dangerous, and that could happen in areas that are really not seen it in my lifetime. To too much of an extent. Stark and Gainesville could really see it. Lake City kind of saw it in 2018, but Stark and Gainesville, not something you see very often at all. So, we did have some power outages in Lake City from that event actually in 2018. So, we're just keeping eyes on that. Rain never refreezes, as you're looking at that. So, that's kind of the storyline there. Again, just wanted to break that all down for you. As we're looking at things, we see the rain on the radar now. I know back January 19th, 1977, it was a different story in Bradford County, though, around Hampton. We actually did have snow. So these photos here from family back then in 1977. It's been 48 years now since that happened. And, I mean, we had the event in 89. There was a lot of slick spots on the road then, though. Really haven't had, I wasn't here in 89. But, there was some snow around, obviously in Jacksonville and the like. But, those events, we really haven't had, other than those, pretty much snow at all here in Bradford County, in 3+ decades. Maybe we'll squeeze some flurries out, maybe a little bit more. We did have flurries in 2010. That's the only time I've ever seen snow, almost 25 years in Bradford County. And I've seen snow flurries, very small ones, one time, December 26th. 2010. I don't have it in here, but they were very small. They were pretty much like, that type of lint you would get on a jacket almost. They weren't much bigger than that. You had to use things like, dark towels, dark jackets to be able to identify them. But it was happening. It was on radar and the reports. I think it might have been a little bit more rampant even than when, kind of noted them where I was at. But didn't really accumulate. And this event here, the ice could definitely be a problem, and maybe a really big problem in Bradford County. The snow, it's really iffy. Even the ice is iffy to some degree, but the models, as I kind of did, I stated that forecast all up away from this year. I see if I have to make a forecast. Well, I did, make it exactly per Stark, but extrapolate out. Right now I'm pretty much saying here, if you're in Stark, Bradford County, we have to look at, the forecast that's pretty similar to Gainesville based on just the overall situation. So, flurries, yeah, possible. And then ice, could be up to 2/10. Granted, this could change, and maybe we can take that out and it's just a cold rain with some flurries. That's not a problem, hardly. And I'd be able to have class then Wednesday to the south. But if we trend upward on the ice, even if we get 1/10 of an inch, even if we get a glaze of ice, interstate was closed in Tallahassee when I was at FSU in 2014, and it was a glaze of ice in a lot of places. I mean, that's how, little ice it takes to cause big problems. That wasn't even a tenth of an inch. So, if we were to get what some of the models are saying, we're going to have big problems. But other models are literally showing no ice. So, but some models are showing over an inch, which would be catastrophic. We'd be talking about, a situation where it could be for some folks worse than any of the hurricanes they've been through in terms of the, numbers of hours and days are without power because we're not able to handle all the trees and power lines down in a certain corridor, and that could be closer to the Florida-Georgia border as well, like Valdosta over or like Statenville or, somewhere around there, give or take, go back down toward Madison. Could be somewhere in that area as possible based on some of the models, but a lot of uncertainty, still a little more time to watch. Wanted to, bring that all to your attention when we broke in for the strong thunderstorm action. A lot of weather going on, that's for sure. But okay, we do have no warning still, but we do have another TVS signature. So let me check this one out here. That's not showing up too badly right now. There's no advisory on this. It's week rotation around State Road 21, but don't think it's quite as impressive as it was earlier. Granted, there is a little something out ahead. And that is moving up a little, so you got to be kind of careful. So let me check here. Checking my timestamps. I think it's still not quite surface-based really with this because this is still a little, even though that's 30 seconds ahead of this, that would be closer if that was surface-based. So trying to be careful on Bradford because we didn't want to kind of be in a situation where it happens and then there's justification for a warning or something like that because, a little bit further on the radar too. So a little bit closer on the radar here. So be a little bit easier to tell if it's surface-based or not. So, we had the other graphics ready. I want to be, on just here in case. But we're watching the other rain. Heavy downpours, so be careful for the slick spots on the roads and the like. But we already had the winter weather graphics ready. Wanted to bring those to your attention if there was a need to cut in for some other type of concern, and that's what we had with this strong thunderstorm. That's technically not considered a strong thunderstorm right now in Clay County. Not too much lighting even, but gonna watch it. We'll be here. If there's any tornado warning storms, obviously, within our 62 counties, and at this point, it'd only be a small sliver of that would really be meteorologically possible, really, north, central, northeast Florida. Of course, if we have any within our area, we'll be on. Some thunderstorm warnings, we'll put by your flash flood warnings. Same thing. Some of the areas here could get a few inches of rain before it's all said and done. In fact, let me just check storm total here real quick. We're about to wrap it up, but I mean, I see it in some areas, but we've already seen that in some areas here. That's kind of what I was thinking. Let me just double check this. So, you see our mesoscale discussing. Storm Prediction Center's watching this area down here, by the way. See if we get some warnings, down there toward Cross City and Trenton and Cedar Key. Because they're a little bit closer towards some of the parameters that overlap a little bit better. So we'll watch it. We'll track the situation. But what I was going to say here in terms of some of this is a 12-hour rainfall estimate. You see over 3 inches in some areas here in southern Lafayette County. That's quite a bit. I haven't had this much rain in a while. You see south of Salem there. So maybe there's hit hard by the hurricane action there. So hopefully, maybe roof tarps on your roof. You're weathering this all right. But Lake City, 2 or 3 inches as well. But there's could be more corridors that kind of get into that here as we progress east and south of all this here. We eventually have that really cool air come on in. You see signs of it further off toward the north and the west here. And, the air comes in, and we have a low come in, and that's your winter storm. And, it's not just about our area. We get areas like New Orleans get the most snow they've had in decades. Houston, the most snow in a while as well. So, big deal. We're here for you to guide you through it. This is just kind of, that breadcrumb of it right now. But we do have to watch the rogue severe weather threat. And we're going to do that. If we need to pop back in, we will. Unless we get warnings or something really obvious. I don't think we'll pop back in. But, the warning, obviously, if one comes down, that would... If it's a tornado warning, we'll be on it at once here. Facebook, KC Cloud, everybody acts. Cloud Weather, Twitter/X at Cloud KC, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and cloudweather.com. But wrapping it up for now, checking for questions one more time here as we just pop in here at this late hour on this early Sunday. This is January 19th, 2025, 48 years since that snow here in Bradford, as I showed you. But then we're looking ahead to a winter storm threat. And we could have winter storm watches issued, maybe pretty soon if they decide to do it on this cycle here. It could be, shortly. If not, maybe it's this afternoon. But probably going to have some more area under winter storm watches here pretty soon. Going to be later today. I'd be stunned if we didn't have that. So that'd be a big deal. Hasn't happened since I've been doing cloud weather. Winter storm watches in any of our counties, as I'm aware. So that goes back over 5 years. So we're going to be here to get you through that. But for now, wrapping it on up. We're watching the severe threat. It's low, but it's not zero. We just have to stay on guard for stuff like this to make sure things, don't catch folks, off guard here as we're tracking the situation, as we're monitoring it. Just wanted to be on top of it. Don't see any reports right now. I'm going to check one more of my sources here just to make sure we don't have any reports, because sometimes this stuff isn't as easy, to really figure out when you're live on the air like this. But just checking. Don't see anything right now. But I'm going to wrap it. Stay tuned. We'll be here watching the weather tonight. If we need to pop back and we will. Hopefully we don't. But if we do, we will. Otherwise, I'll be on top of that winter storm. We're going to have wintry weather in parts of our area in terms of wintry precipitation for sure in the, days to come. That's going to be a big deal, I know. See a few extra people joining us here on YouTube, it looks like, based on what I'm seeing. So if you want to watch this video, go ahead, and rewind right now. Or just, I'm about to wrap it. You can watch it, in full on any of the platforms here in just a moment. So that'll do it for now. Wrapping it up. Stay safe out there.